So you want to start a business, but you really want it to be sustainable. Is it possible to be sustainable from day one? By the end of this video, you'll be able to identify what you need in facilities, equipment, supplies, technology, and support to open the doors of your business or nonprofit. You'll be able to research and compare costs for traditional and eco-friendly versions of various items. And you'll be able to identify sources of funding for your business. First, let's take a look at the types of startup costs you might need to consider. These might include facilities preparation, office equipment, furnishing, and supplies. If you're making things, you need to worry about production, initial inventory. You might need vehicles, a website. You might want to consider attorney's fees. And all of those together will give you your total startup costs. If you're renting a space, what needs to be done to prepare it? This might include things like prepaid leases, painting, fixtures, signs. What else might it include? Do you have an office or reception area? What do you need to get those spaces ready? What if you're starting with a home office? Do you really have everything you need for a professional business setting? Here is a fairly long list of the many things you might want to consider having in your office. Are you providing a product or service? Will you need to build, cook, or create something? What does that take? Are you selling products? What kind of initial inventory and equipment will you need? Will you need to transport it? Does that require a vehicle that belongs to the business? These days, every business needs a website, or at least a Facebook page. But if you're going to sell any products or services, you'll probably need to spend some money to develop your internet presence. Even if you develop your own site, you'll still have a number of expenses you need to research, such things as domain names, hosting ISP, the safety and security for purchases, the development of the website, and internet connectivity at the business. Whether or not you use an attorney, and it's probably wise to do so, you still need to do the paperwork to operate legally wherever you plan to do business, even if it's just on the internet. Such things as business licenses and DBAs, that's doing business as, articles of incorporation or bylaws, and permits. What else might there be? This is a one-page summary with all the expenses that you should consider. What business would you love to start? How much will it cost to open your doors? You should first identify all the things that you think you'll need, and then research on the internet how much each one costs. You may have to make a few phone calls to get estimates for work to be done, whether it is painting or incorporation. There's a lot of information readily available on the internet, and many counties have free workshops for entrepreneurs on what is needed to start a business. Check with yours. But wait a second. What happened to our desire to be sustainable? As eco-friendly advocates, we also want to start off on the right foot. There are a lot of ways to research how your business can be more sustainable. Google is scary good at giving you information about the sustainability of different businesses, products, and services. You may find some good information searching for the environmental impact of your particular business and ways to mitigate your impact. And you can look at some of the equipment, supplies, and products you plan to use to see if there are eco-friendly options that are reasonably priced. Do these options make a big difference or a marginal difference, especially if the eco-friendly option is more expensive? However, the cost differential is coming down for many eco-friendly products. You'd be surprised at how much you can achieve for a small change. Be sure to check the validity of a choice by looking at accusations of greenwashing, that is, claiming to be eco-friendly when the product has serious impacts, and the credibility of your sources of information. So, now that you have some idea of costs, how do you find the money? Well, frankly, it's still often necessary to have your own skin in the game. Personal savings are often the basis for starting a small business. A lot of businesses fail, so you may not want to mortgage your home. There are other sources of financing, though. More and more banks are including environmental criteria in making their lending decisions. Be sure you have a good business plan. They'll be looking for that. You can tap your family and friends, especially if they're working with you in the business. An interesting source is sharing ownership with employees. It's a great way to motivate and empower employees. But make sure that you're providing a good quality of work and quality of life so that you have a positive setting and relationship. There are sources of government financing, from small business loans to grants, especially if your business has a focus on sustainable products and services. Finally, there are angel investors, green venture capitalists, but they often demand a high rate of return. Look to that if you have a great new innovation. Well, we've been talking a lot about for-profit businesses, but many of you may want to start a nonprofit. Just like a regular business, that takes financing as well in order to be able to provide the services or advocacy that your nonprofit intends to do. But you don't get the same type of financing for nonprofits. You have to spend time and effort in fundraising. Yes, there are grants, but there is a lot of work that goes into grant applications, and there's no guarantee from sustainable funding from grants. So what other options are there? Here are a number of ideas that you can pursue. Memberships, corporate partnerships, events to generate interest, and fundraising events. Don't dismiss things like fundraising events. I had a Rotary buddy who was able to raise $300,000 in one banquet. Now it's your turn. Select a business or nonprofit that you would like to start. Here are a few examples: bed and breakfast or motel, a landscaping company, a restaurant or fast food, a veterinary clinic. There are so many possibilities. What is it that you really would like to do? And then go through some of the things we've been talking about here. How much do you need to get started? We'll take a look at the next slide. How sustainable can you afford to make it? And how will you finance it? Identify all the costs needed to start your business. Then research costs of eco-friendly options for some startup costs. What choices are most sustainable? Can you afford it? So what we've covered in this video is first what you need in order to open your doors of your new business, how to compare costs for traditional versus eco-friendly items, and sources of funding. So now go forth and do good in this world and have fun doing it.